Good morning, everyone. So, in the last session, we are trying to discuss about the one of the important example called string security. So, today we'll try to discuss about the another important example called annotation related example. So, how we can come up with whatever we discussed so far. So, all the example now we are going to discuss inside this particular annotations here. Okay. So, this is important. We need to understand here. So, to create this particular example, now what we will do? Here we'll go for the same dynamic web project here. Getting the point. So inside this particular dynamic web project here, we'll try to identify. So we'll try to identify here sim MVC annotation, and we'll click on the next here. So whatever we did here, I'm going to remove this, and I will add the same folders here. src main, src main Java, and another folder. So src main resource. Okay. So inside this particular resource, we'll click on the web.xml, and here we are not going to generate any web.xml file because we are trying to connect with the annotation example. So without any single XML file, we are going to discuss about the annotation example here. So this is, we need to understand very clearly. So I'm trying to click on the finish here. So we'll not use any prospective now. And what I'm doing here, I'm trying to converting into Maven project. Whatever we are discussing, same thing I'm trying to converting into the Maven project here. Okay. So once we convert this Maven project, now what we need to understand here, these are all the particular Maven file here. Now here, whatever we are using here, okay, so this is important, we need to understand here. Basically, what we need to understand is, this is the annotation Maven file, and this is the our whatever we discussed up to the yesterday class. Okay, now what we can do here, I'm going to add all the whatever the jars we used earlier example. First one, what we are going to use is web MVC. First we'll use this particular web MVC here, and later we are going to use the ORM, and we'll try to continue the same Postgres and SLF4J we need. Okay, let me add web MVC related section. Maven repository, and inside this particular Maven repository, now what we can identify, web MVC, and this is we are going to use here. So which one we can use here? We'll go for the latest changes, whatever we are using. So 532. I think it is not a released version. So we'll use this particular release version. So dependencies, and inside the dependencies, we are going to add the Maven web MVC. Okay, after this, now what we are adding? So another important section, ORM. So ORM also we need to add. Now I'm trying to click on this ORM. So what is the latest version we are using? 5.2.22. Okay, and after ORM, what we are expecting here? Postgres. So let's see what is the latest one we are having. What we are having. These are all the. So which one we are using? 42.5. Here 42.3. Okay, so I think we can go for the 42. This also it will work here because this is also latest version. After this, now what we need to add here? Hibernate Core. The Hibernate Core, org Hibernate, not ORM. This is we need to identify. So we can go for the 5.6.0 version. Okay, Hibernate Core I added. And we'll identify if these are all required in the 5 version also. I'm not adding this particular whatever we are expecting here. Now we'll go for the same validator. Okay, later we can add these two also. So context support. Hibernate Validator, I'm expecting it should available inside the Hibernate Core. So support also we'll go for the 5.2.22. And after support, what we are expecting? So JMS. So JMS also, I will go for the same, whatever we are using, 5.2.22. And after JMS, what we are expecting? Apache security. Spring Security Core. So Spring Security also, you can go for the 5.2.22. Do we have the 5.2.22? So we don't have 22. So up to 15 only it is having. Okay, because of that maybe we'll go for this. Okay, Spring Security Core, and these two also I'm going to add. And what is the version we can add? This is the version I'm going to add. Okay, so these are all the MyVM plugin, compiler plugin. Okay, so now I'm going to save this. So we need to wait a couple of minutes to download all the jars here. Still it is downloading. Okay, so all the downloads are completed. Now what we need here, so we need to go to the classes. So inside this, not to this, where I added. Okay, so here we are going to discuss about the package. So what is the package we can provide? com dot spring MVC annotations. So this is the package we are going to create, and inside the package, so we'll try to discuss about the all the classes here. Okay, so only one package we are creating. So if you are interested, you can go for the multiple packages here. Now what you need to understand here, MVC configuration. Okay, so this is the config, it will try to provide the configuration information. So to work on this particular section, now what we need basically here, this is important here. Inside this particular configuration, we'll try to provide the one of the important example call here. First annotation we are going to use configuration. This is the first annotation we are going to use. So what exactly this particular annotation will do? This particular configuration, now it will give us a bean stack. What happened? So configuration, right? So this particular configuration, it will try to give us a whatever the bean stack we used here, whatever this particular bean stack here. Okay, and now what I'm trying to providing here. Here, this is important. We need to understand here. The first parameter I'm going to use environment. What? Environment is not available. Okay. So why we are getting this? Okay, we'll see. So why this particular class is not coming? So anyway, we'll identify this. And so what is the package like? When we are trying to discuss about the component scan, so we identified the component scan as the particular element here, but here we are going to use as a annotation. So component scan. Now you can see. So first one is fine here, because when we are trying to scan the multiple packages, you can go for the scans here. But whatever we are discussing here, the first example, the scan is it's fine here. Okay, and here you can provide the package name. So what is the package name we are having? com dot spring dot mvc dot annotations. This is the package name. And another one, we are going to copy the property placeholder. So property placeholder. So when we are trying to use the property placeholder, we are going to use property source here. So where this particular property source are available? Inside the class path. Class path. What is the name we are going to use? So we'll try to use as a application.properties. Application.properties. Okay. So these are the three important sections we need to understand here. Now we'll see why this core is not coming. It should be available in the no bean.
The spelling. Check the spelling of environment.
Okay, so it's correct. Let's see. Yeah, this one, the second one we are going to use, environment. So because of that, it is not identified here. Okay, now what we need to understand here. So we created the component scan. This component scan, now it is providing the information about the, where is our, this section where we are using, this is one, where is this section, component scan. Okay, so whatever this particular component scan we are using, now we are trying to use as a component scan annotation. And what about this particular property source here? So this particular property source, where we are using, somewhere we are defining the property configure this. Getting the point? So this is the particular bean class, whatever we are providing it. So this particular bean class, now it is working as a, this is a section, property source here. Okay, so why I'm using this particular environment here? Using this particular environment, we are going to load the database related properties here. Okay, so first we'll create the database here. First we'll create the database here, and here whatever we are going to create here, the data source here. This is something like which data source we are trying to use here. Whatever we are trying to use this particular javax.sql data source here. Okay, so after this, now what we need to understand here, we need to provide the name of the method here. The name of the method, internally it will try to provide the data source information here. Where this particular data source information it is available. Get so this particular get source. Okay, whatever this particular get source I'm trying to write here, this is internally it is going to take as a bean ID. So what is the ID? It is going to take as a get source here. Getting the point? So if you are not interested to write this section of this particular get source here, now what we can do? We can write the data source. So data source also you can write here. So now it is going to replace it with data source. Getting the point? So whatever the bean ID we created internally, it is going to look like this. And now what I'm doing here, what is the class we created? So what is the driver data source class we created? Where the data source is created? Hibernate template, connection factory. So this is the data source. Okay, and what is the class we are creating? This is the class. So driver manager data source. Now I'm going to copy here the same driver manager data source here, and I'm trying to create the driver manager data source object here. And what we can do? We can write the data source new, whatever we want to create this. So driver manager data source. So either we can call the constructor parameter or you can call the setter parameter. Now in our example we use the setter example. Here also we are going to use the same section. So data source dot set here. So first what we can set here? Driver class name. So where this particular driver class name we provided? Inside the property file. So now to load this particular property file, now what I'm doing here, I'm trying to use this particular property, get property. And here what is the name of the property we need to provide a key. So if I want to provide this particular key, first I want to copy the property file here. So this is the Spring JDBC property file. Now what I will do, here I replaced with so I'm going to replace it with the file, this file, application.property file here. Okay, now so rename this particular file here, application.property file. So now after this, now what we are doing is driver class name. So where is the driver class name we are having here? Getting the pen. So this is the driver class name we are going to use here. Something like database.driver. Getting the pen. So what we are using here? So this is database driver. Okay, same thing we are using here also. Now after this, after completion of this driver class name, data source dot, so driver class name is completed, and URL. So URL also what we are having is database URL. Database URL and username. Get property. So username path. Whatever the username property we are having, this is I'm going to use, and the last one I'm going to use password. So password. Okay, so this is the password, and we'll return data source. Okay, now this is the way of creating this particular data source object, and internally we need to make as a bean annotation. So why we need to make this entire object, whatever we created, now internally it is going to converted, so like this. Okay, internally now it is going to converted like this here. Okay, so this data source we created. Now this section also we created. Now what we need to create here? So before going to create this particular transaction manager, now what we can create is session factory. Okay, session factory. So how we can create this particular session factory? This is important here. And to work on this particular session factory, now what we can provide this again. So same like public session factory, and where the session factory is coming from, org Hibernate. Okay, so session factory is coming from the org Hibernate here, and here also you can write session factory, because the bean ID it is going to create it internally session factory. And here, so what is the class we created? Here we are trying to create the local session factory bean. The same local session factory bean here also we are going to create here. Now, but here version which it's different here. Now you can see we are trying to use a 5 version. So now factory is equals to new local session factory bean, and after this, so what are the properties we identified here? Like a session factory internally it is expecting data source and mapping resource. Now we are not going to use the mapping resource here. We'll try to use the model classes. Get in the pen. We'll try to use the model classes. Now what we can do? First we'll go for the data source. So factory dot set data source, and here what is the method we are having? This is the data source method we are having here. Okay, now I'm setting it is not. So data source. Okay, so it will call this particular data source. After this, now what I'm doing is factory dot, what we can identify here, we can go for the annotation classes, like whatever the annotated classes we are going to use, we can go for this first one. Otherwise we can go for the packages here. Get in the pen. So otherwise, what is the mapping also we have. So if you see here, we are having mapping resource. Here also we can go for the mapping resource, mapping location of this particular file, or we can go for the mapping resource sections here. Okay, but now what we will do, so we have a different sections here. So now you can see either we can go for the annotation classes. So this annotation classes basically how many classes we are having with annotations here, we need to add all the annotation classes. Or we can go for the what are the annotation packages we are going to configure, like we are going to use the particular mapping information. We need to go for this particular annotated packages section, so the second one. Or we can go for the whatever we are discussing, the resource sections. Or we can go for the packages. If you provide the package section, it will try to load this particular packages and it will convert it into the database related classes here. Okay, so which one is fine? So we'll go for the whatever we are trying to discussing here, annotation classes here. Getting the pen. Here we are going to provide all the annotation classes. So far we did not created any annotation classes. So what are the annotation classes we are going to use it? So here only I am going to copy whatever we discussed in the previous example, same classes. So register, role, and login. These three I am going to provide here. Okay, and here, so login dot class, and another one is role dot class, and another one is register dot class. Okay, so these three are the classes we can specify here. Getting the pen. We have a multiple methods. We can use any one of the particular section. So where we are trying to providing this particular property, whatever the mapping resource we provided, now we are moving into the annotation classes here. So finally, we can go for this particular Hibernate properties. So to create this particular Hibernate properties, now what we can provide here, factory dot set properties. So now you can see set Hibernate properties we are having. So what is the object is expecting? Is expecting properties here. Getting the point. So it is expecting properties here. Now what I will do, load properties. Load properties. So this particular method I'm creating. Now I'm going to create this particular method, load properties. Now internally it is creating this particular property section. Java.util properties here. Now using this, we are going to create the properties here. And after this, properties dot, what is the put method we are having. And here, what is the key we need to provide? Getting the point. So this is important. The key, whatever we used here. So whatever we used here, this is the key we can provide. And so this is the value. Okay, if you are interested this section, we can provide here. So what we can provide here? Something like a Hibernate dilate section. So get property. Okay, Hibernate dilate. This is I can provide here, and here whatever the Hibernate dilate we are having, so we can use this particular Hibernate dilate section. Okay, this is the way we can create the Hibernate dilate here, and the same way property file, and the same example we are going to use. Properties dot put, and the key we are using this, and value env dot get properties. Same thing I'm passing here, and we can go for the properties dot put object here, and the final one we'll use this particular auto section. Hibernate dot auto, and where we can provide this, and here we need to provide the particular file. Okay, so we are using auto, not auto. It should be update. Okay, now we'll go for this. We created this particular section, and we'll return the properties here. After this, whatever we are trying to return, factory dot get object. Okay, so this will return the session factory bean here. So this is the second object we created. Now after this, what we need to understand, this particular bean is completed. So if you go to this, we are going to use the Hibernate template. Hibernate template internally it is using session factory. Now we need to create the same example here. Now to create this particular example, now what I'm trying to do, public Hibernate template and Hibernate template. Hibernate template is equals to new Hibernate template. So here we can call the session factory. So directly we can call this particular session factory and return template here. Okay, so this is a bean. Now, so we'll go to the same Hibernate template here. Now you can see Hibernate template. We are creating this particular example. So session factory internally it will call the data source. Now, what is the main important section? So this is we need to use the another important section, internal resource view resolver. So to create this section, what we need here, we are going to use the view resolver. So here the same I'm going to use, or use the view resolver method, and internally we'll copy the internal resource view resolver. Okay, so here we can provide the prefix and suffix in the constructor level, or we can go for the method level. Okay, we'll try with the method level only, because in the previous example we use the property here. So set first we can go for the prefix here, and another one view resolver dot set suffix here. Okay, so finally return view resolver. Okay, so we need to copy suffix and prefix here. Same example I'm going to copy for this particular prefix here, and another one I'm going to copy for this particular suffix here. Okay, so these are all the internal resource view resolver, and we completed this, and we discuss about this section, and we discuss about the session factory. So data source is completed, so property source is completed. Now we'll need to discuss about the transaction manager. So how we can create this particular transaction manager? Here I'm trying to create the transaction manager. So what is the transaction manager we are creating here? Hibernate Transaction Manager. So the transaction manager I'm trying to create here. Hibernate Transaction Manager. We can go for the manager is equals to new Hibernate Transaction Manager. Internally it is expecting session factory. So bean. Okay, transaction manager also we created here. So internally it is expecting session factory. Now what we need to create here? So this is we need to create. So Java mail sender section. So what is the configuration, like what is the version we are using for this section? We need to go to the POM file. What we are using? Security. So I think we are not providing any Java related. Let's see. We'll identify. Do we have any Java mail sender? Yes, we have. And so here Java mail sender IMPL. IMPL is equals to new Java sender IMPL. So after this IMPL dot. So what are the properties we are having? We need to set here. So first we'll discuss about all the properties here. What we are trying to set here. First one is Java mail properties we are having, and another one is host and port, username as well as password. Okay, first we'll set the host here. Okay, so what is the host we are having? Port also. So what is the port we are having? Something like 587. Okay, it is expecting integer number. Set username. So what is the username we are having? Maybe so it is locked here. We need to check on the another user. Okay, so we'll see like password. Now the password, whatever we are having, this is the password we used in the previous example. Okay, after this, set properties. Where is the properties here? Now you can see set Java mail properties. So it is expecting Java mail properties here. Now what we can do? We'll create the one more property sections here. Here I'm going to create the properties here. So I will copy whatever we created. Okay, and here we need to copy all the properties, whatever the properties we used here. Where is the property file? This is the property file. So SMTP. I don't want to load this from the property file because these are all the static files only. These values are not going to modify here. If you want to make some values true or false, those we can make, but not like it's not required in our example. So that I'm making here only. So this section we need to use as a true, and another property This also we need to use as a true section. And mail debug. Let me. Okay. So why we are getting this mail debug and mail debug also true? After this, and another important section, this trust section. The last property we are trying to set here. Okay. So these are all the mail sender. Now what is expecting internally? Once it is completed, we need to return IMPL. So here we can make the bean here. Get in the pen. So this is the mail sender we completed. After this, multi-part resolver. So to work on this particular multi-part resolver, we can go for we have multi-part file. Okay, and here common multi-part file. Okay, which one we are discussing here? Multi-part resolver or multi-part file resolver only. So let me copy this. Okay, so multi-part resolver we are setting, and after this multi-part resolver dot. So what is encoding is not readed. Whatever we set the two properties we can set here. What are the two properties we are setting? First one is max file upload here. This is the size around it is I'm giving 2 MB upload size. Set to max upload size. We can provide this, and another one is max in memory size. Okay, after this we'll return okay. So multi-part resolver we can create with a bean, and after this, so JMS template. Okay, so JMS template is important here. So JMS template, and JMS template, and internally what is expecting here? So JMS template dot connection factory. So what is the connection factory? the connection factory, we need to provide the Apache related section. Sorry, the whatever the Apache ActiveMQ we are using, so the connection factory we need to provide. Getting the point. So this is important. So now, how we can add this particular connection factory? So if we go to this section, here what we are doing is we are making the connection factory reference here. Getting the point. We are making connection factory references. So now we'll copy this. So we'll create the connection factory. After connection factory, JMS template dot set to default destination. We are going to copy. This is the default destination, and simply we'll return JMS template. Okay, so this is also we need to make bean. So now connection factory we need to create. So to create the connection factory, we need a Apache related jar here. Whatever the ActiveMQ we are having, so we need this ActiveMQ core here. So we'll copy this. So whatever we are using. Okay, so this is we are going to use here, and after this, now here we need to create the connection factory. What is expecting? Okay, so name here. So connection factory we need to create. So to create this particular connection factory, public, whatever the connection factory we are providing, we'll see. So connection factory, what is expecting here? ORG, Tomcat, DBCP. Okay, we'll go for this. So JMS connection factory. Do we have a JMS connection factory? Yes. Connection factory. And here, so which class object we need to create? So connection factory, it should be created from the our ActiveMQ connection factory. So if I'm going to show you here, whatever the class is going to override this particular connection factory. So those particular section we need to provide here. So let's see ActiveMQ connection factory class name. So RG ActiveMQ Spring we are having. So we'll try this. This particular class is implementing or not. Active being name aware is coming. Which package it is coming? ActiveMQ Courier. Okay, so I think we can go for the another one, ActiveMQ connection. Let's see this, whether we can use this connection factory. Yes, so this particular class we can use. So this is the connection factory we need to use. So connection factory already it is implemented. So this is the connection factory. Now remove this. What is the package? ORG Apache ActiveMQ. ORG Apache ActiveMQ we need to use this. So connection factory. Now, so connection factory. After this, so what is expecting here? String is expecting broker URL. So directly we can provide this particular the broker URL. So whatever we provided here, we'll go to the first section. this is. Okay, so this is the broker URL. Here we can pass here. I think simply we can return this. Okay, so here we can pass this connection factory. So I'm thinking all we completed. Anything is pending. So we'll identify JMS template, multipart resolver. So Java mail sender, transaction mail, transaction manager, data source, session factory, Hibernate template, internal resource view resolver. Okay, so authentication manager. So we are pending with security related sections here. Okay, security related sections we are pending here. Now for the security related, we'll create one more configuration class. But now what we need to understand, these are all the configuration classes so far, whatever we discuss here. And after this, now we need to run our application. So to log in, okay, not empty, it is not coming. Okay, so I missed the validator one. Because of that, it is not loading this particular file here. So where we are having the validator one, so this is the validator one we are using. We need to go to the Hibernate Validator. Engine reallocation artifact. So Jakarta bin validation references, Hibernate engine reallocation. We'll try with this. So I think we can go for the 6.6 version I'm using. Okay, so login class, how it is deprecated. So validator.constraint.not empty. We'll try with one more not empty, another section we are having. So we can go for the Java X. So because the Hibernate things are deprecated here. So now you can see register also Java X. So role we did not provide. Okay, so these are all the main classes we created. Now what I will do, whatever we created, I am going to copy all the sections here. Okay, alert service, email service. So we'll discuss about the so user repository and the user service. So for these particular classes are fine. Okay, so maybe Java mail sender it is not available. He is expecting this particular mail one, where we provided Java mail, this section. So only we have this is only the version we are going to use, Java mail also. Okay, so user repository, Hibernate template version is changed here. We need to go for the 5 version. Okay, so find method is deprecated. Let's identify what is another method we are having. So find by example, we have a find method, but why it is deprecated? Okay, anyway, from the which version onwards it is deprecated here? Deprecated, but they did not provide it. Okay, so why they are using convenience finder method for SQL strings? Okay, they come up with a okay, so they come up with a specific method. Now you can see convenient to finder method for the SQL string. So we need to identify what are all the methods we can use here. So these are all the some of the methods are deprecated here. Now so which method we can use? Prepare criteria protected. So okay, so later we'll identify this which method is suitable here. But right now we need to create one more classes here. So what are the classes we need to create? Like we provided the main file here. Where is the main file we created? This is the main file. Now if we observe carefully, the Spring MVC configuration file we created. So this section we created inside the XML configuration. But the XML configuration basically what we did, we created under the web.inf folder so that the dispatches alert automatically it is loaded. But where this particular dispatches alerts we created? Getting the point. So this particular dispatches alert we need to create here. How I am going to create this particular dispatches alert here? Okay. So for this particular dispatches alert class, we need to come up with the root configuration one class we have. Getting the point. So these are all the root classes we need to provide here. So let's observe. The first class we are going to create something like initializer class. Okay, so this is the initializer class we are going to use. So this particular initializer class, now what we will do, we'll going to extend from the dispatcher initializer, I think. So abstract annotation config dispatcher solid initializer. So this is the class we need to use here. Now, whenever I'm trying to use, we need to provide the unimplement method because this is a one class we are having. It's come up with some of the abstract method because this particular class is a abstract class. Now you can see what are all the methods we need to provide. So root configuration classes and the servlet config classes here. Okay. So what are the servlet config and root classes? So here we are overriding these methods here. Getting the point. This is important here. Now you can see this servlet mapping. Whatever the servlet mapping we are having, it is expecting here string array. We can provide the multiple different mapping types here, but we are trying to use the only the particular specific type that is called slasher. Any request we are going to handle, we are going to give the option to the dispatcher servlet here. Okay, so for this particular section, we need to use the string array, and here I'm going to provide the slash. So this is we identified the mapping section. Okay, and another one is servlet config classes. So now what we can provide here also it is expecting the same multiple classes we can provide. Like when we are trying to discuss about the different configuration classes, now all the classes we can configure here. Now how I am trying to providing this particular section also, and whatever the class we created. What is the class we created? Something like MVC.config. So not a string here, we need to create as a class here. Okay, so this is the servlet config. Getting the pen. So inside the dispatcher servlet, based on the servlet name, how we are loading the configuration file. So same way we are providing the configuration file information. So far we don't have any the root section, so we can make empty here, the root section here. Okay, so this is important here. Now we can run this example without any XML configuration. So if everything is go successful, what we are going to expect here, inside this section, the whole view folder we can copy here. Okay, so I'm trying to copy this. So why these errors are expecting here? We are using JSTL things here. So the JSTL library we did not add it. Now what we can do to add this particular JSTL library? We need to go to this example. We need to copy the whatever we discuss about the JSTL sections here. Here we are having, this is the dependency. So once it is loaded, so now you can see all are completed. Now what I'm doing here, I'm going to run this example with the help of this particular server here. So every time I'm going to use this. So let me remove this MVC related, because we are not using the MVC related sections here. So we are getting some exception. Now you can see Hibernate template. So what is expecting internally? This particular Hibernate template. Illegal argument. So is expecting the property. Is expecting the property, but what we did basically, we created the constructor. If you go to this Hibernate template, here now you can see we are calling the constructor section. Now what we can do? We can call, so not this. We can call Hibernate template, this section. So we have session factory. We can call this. Let me stop the server. So again, we can run the same example. So this time we are getting Spring configuration, invocation of init method. So same exception. Let's see any below we are getting. Session factory is required. So we are setting the session factory only. Let's see. So why again it is failing here? Is there any another exception? It is trying to load from the invocation. Session config, invocation of init method, property, session factory is required. But whatever the session factory we provided, same only. Let me go to the Hibernate template. So which class it is in? Under the Java 5 only. Okay. So why this get session factory it is not coming? Okay, it is not setting this particular session factory. Okay, here we are having the session factory. I think we can set to. So this is only the Hibernate 5 only, right? Yes. So we are setting this particular constructor as well as, okay, they made as a nullable, but constructor they are not making. Let's see. We can add in the both sections. Why it is not taking this section? It should be take basically. So if it is not taking, we can give the parameter. Let me see. Here I'm trying to put a breakpoint, and here also I'm going to put a breakpoint. In the two sections, we can identify why it is not setting. Basically, it should set the value. Okay, it is coming. What happened? Session factory. So where is the debug section? Okay, variables are not coming. Why this coming? Why it is not coming? So it's a constructor. From where the constructor is calling? So here only. Okay, server is stopped here. We'll see. So basically, it should set. Okay, let's see. Instead of doing these many R&Ds, so now what I will do here, I can write the session factory. So we'll see now. Again, we are getting, oh, why it is throwing this? It should not throw, because we are trying to set the session factory. Okay, after property set is expecting session factory, but before the after property set only we are calling this. Again, it is going to check on this only. Okay, why the session factory is not setting? We'll keep these two sections. So session factory, instead of maybe modify the naming convention. Get to session factory. So, okay, transaction manager also we can modify this. Okay, and we'll run the same example. So any bean related section we are missing? Let's see, because we are trying to connect with the transaction also. Enable web MVC transaction management. Maybe it is because of this also we may get no. So it is miracle. Okay, let's take the help. Basically, why it is not loading this particular file. So it is calling the constructor only. So 144. It is calling the constructor only, and here we are setting the file. Okay. So in place of this, maybe Why we need this? We need this session factory, right? Okay, we'll see. I'm thinking anything. Property Spring 4, but we are discussing about the Spring 5. Yes, so I just got it. Now here we need to call the property set here. Here only template dot after property set. This one we need to call here. So from our object we are calling this particular template dot after property set. So what is another exception? Still we are getting this only. Not sure.
You're saying line number 59, the Spring config file.
No, from here it is calling. From 59 on, from here only it is calling. So it is going to this section, and here it is checking the get session factory if it is null. Not sure. It should call with help of this. Maybe Hibernate template. Anything. Okay, let me comment out this. If I'm going to comment out this, okay, so we can go for the session factory instead of this. We can use a session factory. Now we'll discuss why the Hibernate template so I think is wrong. From where it is coming? So transaction manager. Okay. Transaction manager also it is calling this. Transaction manager. If I remove this default constructor I'm calling. Why the session factory it is not loading? Okay. No. So it is issue because of this particular session factory. Let me create the type. Let me modify this. Maybe because of the session factory it is not creating. Local session factory bean. I will use this factory only, and here I'm going to provide the session factory, and I will keep I will enable this section also, and I will remove I don't want to call session factory constructor. Now we'll see. Maybe session factory it is not identifying. So I'm expecting now we are getting different exception. Yes. So file item factory it is expecting. Okay, so what we identified is, so because of the session factory return type, it is not expecting. Okay, but finally it is resolved the session factory issue. Okay, now we are getting the different one, file item factory. We'll see where this particular file item factory it is available first. It is in the 14, and this is also so Tomcat version. Okay, so this is we need to use. Now if I'm going to open this, where in the which file it is available, common file upload, and which example we are discussing. So common file upload, this file we need to add here. Do we have a common file upload? So this section is expecting. Okay, the same file here also it is expecting in our annotation example. Now I'm adding. So after this, I'm trying to run the same example. Because some of the jars we did not add it here. Because of that, oh nice. What happened? The famous output we are getting 404. So let's see. Hibernate common annotation. Here, the classes are not loaded. Program file. Hibernate related exception, it should load. Okay, anyway, now what we will do, we'll try to add this particular sections here. Entity and table. So after this, now what we can identify? ID. So generated value. So sequence. Login ID and we'll go for the column. And the same column we'll add for the password. We can go for the valid flag. And here, set tag here. So for this set tag, we need to go for the many to one. Okay, many to one or one to many annotation we need to use here. So if you observe, login is one, roles are many. So here, whatever we discuss about the one to many annotation, so we need to use it. And what is expecting internally is expecting cascade section. So cascade is equals to, we can go for the all here. Cascade section we can go for the all, and another one we'll discuss later on this. And register we are having. So for this particular register, we can go for the one to one. Okay. So here, for this particular one to one, what exactly we are trying to provide this particular annotations here. This is important here. For the so how we can identify this? So 1 to 1. Here we can go for the mapped by. So this is mapped by. We can go for the person class login. Which one we need to use the mapped by. So this is important here. Register. So inside this particular register, we are going to provide the one of the important example call inside the register. Let me go to this first, where we are having login. Sorry, not one to many. It should be 1 to 1. And inside this particular 1 to 1, name, cascade. We can go for the same cascade all, and join column. So the join column, what is the join column we can use here? Account ID. So here, what we can go for this particular join column? Register ID. So on top of this particular login table, now what we are doing is we are going to provide the register ID. So this is the register ID. Now it's going to map it with this. So if you observe carefully, and where is the login? Here we are making the register. Register class. So how we can make this one-to-one annotation? So which one we identified in the earlier example? Select start from register. Okay, so there is no specific column. Okay. Okay, in that case, now what we can do? So directly we can provide. And here, so login. So the register basically it should map with a login. So now what we can do? This section we can add inside the register. It should map it with a login. Login mapped by register. So cascade is equals to all. The above section we can remove. And now the login, whatever the login we are having, now it is mapping with a register object here. And the same thing, in the login, so register is going to have ID. One to one. So here also we can go for the same, the all cascade. So it will try to provide the information about the join column. If I'm not providing the join column, we'll see. So it should be mapping with the register. Okay, so same thing like another important section we need to discuss about the one to many. So how we can write this particular one to many? This is another important example we need to identify. So to work on this particular one to one, one to many, what is the specific values we are having? If we identify, so one to many, any error we are getting? No. Why I'm not getting anything? So mapped by, here we can take the IDs. Join column directly we can provide. Name is equals to login ID. Okay, and go to the role section. One to many, or sorry, many to one. Many to one. So fetch here, we can go for the eager fetch only, because while loading the login, it should load the roles object. And cascade we are having optional target type. So cascade also we can provide. So it will load all the operations here. Entity and the table. So table, role table only we can use. And I'm using ID. For this particular ID, generated value, strategy, so sequence. In the sequence order, we are going to load this column name. Okay, so this is for this particular role object. Now what we are creating? So this is something like a login. Inside the login, we provided the one-to-one association here, register and login here. And so register we are missing. Table. Okay, ID, generator value, so is equals to, so one by one we are getting the value. The column name, register underscore ID, column, and so we have a email. Sorry. So username and password we are not creating here. So in the login we will create this. So confirm password. What we are going to store here for this particular image. Do we have any binary? So what is the column we can use for this particular binary data? 121. Columns converts. Joint table lazy. So we can go for the log. Okay, so these are all we created. Now, so we'll run the same example one more time. So could not determine the multi-part file. Okay, so if it is not determining here, we can make a empty on this. Like we have one annotation called embedded. So for this embedded, it is not going to create any column in the database. Okay, so tables are created, but why it is not loading this? All the tables are created here. Login, register. Oh, confirm password. Password also created. Okay. So, okay. So these three tables are created. So now, but anyway, why it is not coming the home page? This is important here. Anything we are missing here? Okay. So these are in the com.spring MVC annotations only we are using. So slash we are using. So it should load this section. Okay, so the final class, whatever we implemented, the security class we can add. So later we can see why the home page it is not loading. It should load here. Anything we are missing? No. Okay, let me create the security related sections. To create this particular security related here, we need to discuss about the, so one more class here. We'll also add this section, security initializer. Because of the jars, maybe it is affecting. We'll add this. Extends here. Abstract security. Abstract security web application initializer. So this class is fine. So just we are extending from this particular class. And after this, now what is another section we can write here? So root configuration. This class is going to take as the filter related sections here. And whatever now I am going to create here, okay. So we did not created the web initializer. Okay, because of maybe Spring root config. This is important. I think we missed this particular class root config. Now it should be implement web application initializer. this we can add here. Where is our security initializer? Not this. Okay, so this is we need to add here. Security config, security MVC configuration we added, root configuration. Okay, root configuration we can add here. Last class, this is the last class we need to add, the security related section. Now, web security configuration adapter. So this is we are extending this, and here web security. Okay, web MVC security, not this. So it should be the web security. And here, what we can write here, data source. When we are trying to extending this configure adapter, if I'm going to click on the control space, so we have a methods here. So these are all the methods we are going to override here, because these methods are already implemented inside this particular class. So web security configure adapter. Now what we are doing is, with the help of this particular extending class, we are trying to providing the specific implementation. The first one we are going to discuss about the configure, which is going to take HTTP security. Okay, so this is important. Now here, what I'm doing here I'm going to provide the, so if I'm going to provide HTTP colon authorized request. So this is the authorized request here, and here if you get any request here, so we should go to the, it should be authenticated. Any request, it should be authenticated. And what we need here, we need to go to the form login. Okay, so this is, we are expecting this. So form login. Okay, I'm not going to write much code for this now. Just we need to identify the login page. The default login page we need to identify here. So, and another important section method, again I'm giving the control space. So authentication manager builder. So you can see this is the third one we need to override here. Now I'm not using the superclass functionality. We'll go to the in-memory authentication. First we'll check with the in-memory authentication. So if we click on this in-memory authentication, and so here we are having with user. So whatever we used here, Spring I'm using, and with password, with it is not there. Dot password, yeah, dot password is there, and security. And here, so we need to provide the role here. So to provide the role, we have a method called authorities, and we can provide the role underscore user. Okay, so this is we are going to provide here. This is something like in-memory authentication. In-memory authentication. So if I am getting any request here, it should be authenticated, and now it will go to the, now it should go to the form login page. The default form login page, it should display. Okay, now we are going to provide this particular username and password. So if we observe carefully, later we'll use this particular data source here because we are going to provide the same user detail object here. Okay, now this section, instead of providing where is the config class, not this root config, not this security, not where is our main class. So Spring initializer, instead of this particular root config, we can provide our security config, so that now it is going to take as a highest priority on the security here. Okay, now I will run this example. We'll see it should load the login page. So again we are getting an exception, no qualifying being called data source here. So why we are getting this dependency data source? Okay, so what we created inside the configuration data source only we created. Why it is not loading here? Whatever we provided, data source only. Okay, the naming it is not matching. Okay, got it. So here it should be import. It should be import here. Now class I'm trying to providing here. Okay, is expecting. What is our class here? Spring MVC dot config dot class. Let's see. Now it should load. Now it should load this particular data source object. See, so it is coming to the login page. Now here what we need to provide, whatever the information we are having, something like a Spring security. So whenever I'm trying to click sign in, oh, from where we are getting something null. So there is no password encoder. So we are getting different exception here. Where we are getting here, there is no password encoder mapped with ID. So it is expecting the encoding and decoding section. So why it is going this encoding and decoding? Let me create a, so here only we can create inside the Spring config. It is not the configuration file, right? So we cannot to create this here. If it is not the configuration class, we cannot create. Here only we need to create password encoder. After this, what is the password encoder class we have? So password encoder factories, no, not this. So we need to identify the password encoder implementation class here, because it is a interface here. So let me copy this. So I forget the name of the password encoder. Okay, so here we have, right, delegating password encoder. We can go for this. So delegating password encoder. Encoder. No. So what is expecting? ID for password, ID to encode. No, this is not needed. These are all the okay. So these many information we cannot provide here. Let's see. So what is the good way to create a password encoder map here? Spring Security 5 is expecting. So simply we can go for this section. BC crypt password encoder. Okay, so we need to add this also. Let me create this first. BC encryptor. Okay, after this, so this is also we need to add this section. Whatever the password we are using here. These are all the two important sections we need to add for the password encoder. Let me add security. So bad credential. So why anything I'm missing? So why I'm getting the bad credential? Okay. So what I'm missing? Okay. Spring and security only. So we should add the same thing. So the password is not matching here. Default passcode. Okay, why the security? Copy this. Spring security I'm giving. No. Okay, maybe it is decoding the password. So far I comment out this. Maybe it is decoding. If it is decode, it will not match here. Let me run one more time. Okay, whatever I copied. Spring. Okay, so now it is coming, but to the main file it is not loading. So why the main file it is not loading? So security is working. Okay, so I will debug this. So whatever we implemented, so everything is correct, but here the home page, whatever the home page we define here, it is not loading this. It should load something we are missing in the configurations. MVC config, anything, property source component scam com that spring MVC. Sorry, it should be spring MVC, not a dot here. So the package we created spring MVC, but I given dot here. So maybe because of this, it is failing. Let me add spring security, login. Oh, now we are getting big exception one more time. We need to handle these exceptions also. Why? What we are missing? Bad value of this particular type. Oh, it is expecting. It is moving into the main method, but so it is trying to load the register object. And what we are having here, maybe in the register object, do we have a data? Whatever we provided, the particular base 64 format, the base 64 format, it is throwing an exception here. Request to processing failed, bad value type long here. Okay, right now what I will do, where is our home controller? I will comment out this section. Simply list of, just for understanding, I'm trying to write here, new register. The default constructor I'm calling here. We'll see this. So why the section is failing. Now it is trying to hit this particular endpoint. So internally it is trying to load the data from the database here. Again I'm giving Spring security. So home method is calling. Now you can see it is loading this. Okay, so from the database I commented the code. So finally, with help of this particular annotation example, we are able to load the data. But here if you observe carefully, here we are not using any single line of XML configuration. Everything in this example we are trying to discuss with the annotation example. Okay, this is important here, but basically when we are trying to discuss about this particular XML configuration, so I want to provide the pom.xml, this pom.xml and this particular pom.xml. So if you compare this, so we are having differences here. If you see this is the Spring core we are copying. Not core. It should be the MVC and annotation. Now if you observe carefully, this is the annotation one. Here we are not using any the SLF forger related sections here. Now if you go to this, so here what are the additional, this is we identified, the SLF forger we added. These are all the additional dependencies we added, and this is we added in our annotations also. So this XML bind we did not add it here. Okay, so Java mail and common related exception also we added, Act2MQ we added, but now if you see there is no XBean. So this is the some dependencies we are not adding in our 5 versions. So this is we need to understand when we are trying to work with each and every version. So this dependency exceptions we need to resolve manually. So we cannot know like which excepts we are going to get every time. Okay. So now we identify this. Now we are able to see. So I will like do some more R&D on this, because whatever we implemented in our register class, the image is getting an exception. So the image is getting an exception. So base 64 it is created, confirm password. So I need to make this particular section. I don't want to create this particular column in our this particular register class. So otherwise what we can do, so this is the last step we can perform. Now let me go to the pom dot like application dot property file. Here I am going to use create. So the create basically how many times you are going to run the server, every time it will try to create the data. So I don't want to create multiple times. For first time I want to create this, and here whatever this particular embedded I'm using, and this should not created on the this base 64, as well as on top of this particular username, on top of this particular password also, and password and confirm password. where we are creating these sections, we are trying to create in our login.class. Okay, so this section we are going to create for log here. Now we'll identify this. Any other exception? Unwanted imports, I'm trying to remove this. Okay. So here also we are using, okay, we can see later on this why we are getting this unimplemented section we have. Okay, and user repository also. Okay, find related section, user service, email service we are not using. Okay, so this email service also will come up with a new example. So the existing email ID, it is locked here, so we need to fix that also. Now if you see this here, the tables are going to recreated, so some exception we are getting. Repeated column, which column is repeated here? Register, annotation data register, it is repeated, should be mapped with insert false or update false. Repeated column in the mapping for entity. Where we are getting this repeated column? Should be mapped with insert false or update false. This also we need to fix this. Hibernate template, get session factory, mapping for entity. So here, which class we are making repeatedly? So we are having only 3 classes here. The repeated column in the mapping for entity. Let me go to the register class. Which class is repeated? Which column is repeated basically here? I think so. ID, first name, last name, email. So username we are not creating here. So password also we are not creating. Confirm password. So embedded file and base 64. Okay. So which one is repeating? Let me see. Let me read the exception one more time. Repeated column in the mapping for entity. Okay. Which entity? Register. Column coder. Column coder. Where we having this coder? Okay. Let me delete from here. Drop the table. If I want to drop, I think I cannot drop all the table. Coder also we don't have here. Confirm password, password only. Let's see if I want to drop. Okay, so instead of dropping this, we'll take the help. But I think here we are not having anything repeated column in the mapping entity. So let me take the help from the Google only. Why we are missing this? So not needed. Okay, maybe because of this. Yeah, got it. Okay. Mapping, that means you map it with the same database with the column twice. Oh, got it. Now we are using the join column. So not here. I hope in the login, I guess. Here we are using login ID, and here also we are using login ID. So this join column should be, whenever we are inserting this, it will update the data. Where is the nullable? Insertable boolean. Nullable. So what is the message getting here? Insert or update? Insert false or update false? Let's see this. I think this is only the column we are using. Remaining classes we don't have. Yes. Restart. Oh, again we are getting. No, I think the issue is not yet resolved. Repeated column. Okay. So I will fix this. So maybe it's going to take some more time. So why this column is getting repeated here? So maybe it is because of this particular, the mapping, whatever we are doing the mapping information. So it is not doing the proper mapping here. Okay. So I will fix this issue and I will let you know in the tomorrow session. So we'll try to work on the inserting the data into the newly created table with help of this particular annotation. So once it is completed, now we'll go for the Spring Boot related example here. So once the Spring Boot basic example identified, again we are going to copy this all the example whatever we so far we created, and with help of this particular Spring Boot we'll discuss about the all the example right now whatever we are discussing here. Okay. So any questions? Any questions regarding about this annotation example? Okay. If not, I will create a branch and I will push this particular changes. So once the mapping exception is resolved, whatever the mapping exception we are getting here, I will fix this and I will insert one record the data into this particular database. Okay. I will give you the code and you can practice whatever we discussed so far here. And we'll continue tomorrow with help of the Spring Boot related example, how it is going to work. Okay. So we'll continue tomorrow.